I get my Charlie Chaplin look going here. Hello there. That was very Star Wars and not all I was going for. Pip pip cheerio. Okay, great. So, in my senior year, I wrote an essay all about Charlie Chaplin, and since then, I have been absolutely captivated by his films. So, naturally, I made one of my own. I made this film in exactly one day, actually less than a day, with some really great friends who agreed to help me out, so let's just dive right into the process. I think someone's washing dishes downstairs, so if you hear any clanking, I apologize. The story itself took a while to come together because I was having a hard time picturing what exactly I wanted to do with the script. I needed to, in less than 10 minutes, tell a complete story with comedic tones. Now that's tricky. Finally, after watching hours of Charlie Chaplin's films, I put together my basic plot. One of the distinguishing features of Chaplin's humor is the fact that his humor is less harmful and more embarrassment-based. And in many of his films, Chaplin's embarrassingly funny interactions or stories come from his character's need to impress a lady. So I took those main traits from his films, switched the gender roles, and finally wrote a script. Perfect.
Sorry.
It's not good. Alright, that's too slow. You're supposed to be an experience.
I've never written this before.
Due to the fact this film had no budget whatsoever, I was unable to procure more time-appropriate costumes. So instead, I relied on the fact that this film would be black and white. Although I did have my friend Elena wear baggy, oversized clothes and a funny hat, I also had her walk with the signature duck feet and a bit of a looseness in her body in order to depict Charlie Chaplin's character. Elena did a great job with the time we had, and I think she really did a great rendition of her own version of Charlie Chaplin. I also kept the props minimal. No, do not jump on it. You're gonna go flying. So you're dominant plus. That's such a hearty thud. Fast food ad with a hearty thud. I really wanted to have a snake in this story. It's kind of the main point of the story actually, but there was of course no way for me to get a real snake, and I couldn't find a semi-realistic fake snake. So instead I made my own out of paper, which we attached clear string to, and it was quite putsy, especially when we were trying to pull it over Elena's shoes. Oh, let's try again.
Go.
Mm-hmm. But we made it work. Rolling and action. The actual filming process was so easy. I couldn't help but add a couple of my own shots, but for the most part, I stayed true to Chaplin's style. Most of his films are shot in wide frames with minimal movement, relying more on the characters to tell the story. So, like I said, very easy. I just plopped my tripod down and that was about it.
Sorry, Heather. I'm sorry, Heather.
It's okay, it's okay.
I can change it.
I'm sorry. Cut. Do that one more time. Just completely, don't even think about what she's doing. Just think about, think about something sad. Dead worms. And of course, we did redo each scene several times just to make sure every movement was perfect. Charlie Chaplin started making films before sound was introduced, and he continued to make films all the way into the invention of sound and film. So it took me quite some time to decide which side I wanted to create on, sound or no sound. But from what I remember from my essay, Chaplin flourished with making silent films and was reluctant to add sound because he thought it would mess up his pacing. The only reason he began using sound was to keep up with the viewers' demand. So for that reason, I decided to make a classic silent film.
I thought there was no audio in this.
There is not, but the way that Charlie Chaplin does lines when he needs them is it cuts to a black screen with just words on it. It's like, this is what the person said, and then it goes back to the story. I opted to place any necessary dialogue onto a gray screen, which I added an old film grain to and tried to font match to Chaplin's films to the best of my ability. Because the film was so short, I tried my best to refrain from using dialogue screens, making sure that the few times I did were absolutely crucial, and I think I was able to find a good balance between dialogue and just silent character movements to tell the story. As for music, I found a few copyright-free songs with that same sort of chipper beat that Chaplin had in his films. Actually, Charlie Chaplin actually composed his own music, which is so impressive. I just used some pre-made songs and ended up blending 3 different songs together in order to perfectly depict the mood of the story. I also tried to occasionally match the beat of the song to the movement of the characters, like Charlie Chaplin does in his own films. This film was by far the easiest coloring process I have ever done. I just took that saturation bar and moved it all the way down. I also added a touch of film grain and I adjusted the shadows and the highlights a little bit. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It was super satisfying to watch the entire film come together when I turned the color to black and white. It was like the story and the aesthetic of Charlie Chaplin just came to life. I will honestly forever be motivated by Chaplin's ambition and the way he was so involved in every process of his films. It is truly remarkable and inspirational, and I highly recommend that you research more on his work if you have the time. He's a really cool read. Anyways, this was such a fun film to make, and I absolutely loved being able to work with my friends on this project, so a big thank you to them. The film is out. I will link it in the description down below. It's also the video right before this one if you want to go watch it, and let me know what you think in the comments about the film. And I'm currently trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of September, which is in just a couple weeks, so if you aren't subscribed yet and you're willing to help me out with that goal, I would be most appreciative if you subscribed, and you could also click that thumbs up while you're at it, if you want to. Alright, thank you so much for being here. I will see you again in a couple of days. Goodbye. Ah! Good.
Should I exaggerate the leg cross?
No.
My legs are just...
I don't know if they had keys like we do.
Yeah, it might just be like a switch.
Excellent question.
Before I was born.
That's a great answer. that was very insightful, Heather.